Hi, welcome back to my page. My name is Brad, and what I've been doing on here is just sharing some stories while I sit out and enjoy a cigar. Today I'm having El Rey Del Mundo, sorry, shade grown cigar. I got this in my cigar.com subscription box. It's a Honduran cigar. Never had one before, so I'm kind of looking forward to checking it out. So what we do on here, if you've never been here, is I just sit and tell a story, tell about something that's happened in my life, something important. As I sit and think and reflect and kind of chill out. Is what I like to do when I have a cigar. Done it a couple times now and gotten some pretty good feedback. Just folks just chiming in and talking about how much they enjoy it, or just telling me when they see me. A lot of people didn't know that I like to smoke cigars. A lot of people that just even know me around here. Some of them kind of shocked by that, but that's okay. I just enjoy it. I just enjoy just sitting and thinking, reflecting, and just having that time. So I'm going to do that today, and I'm going to tell a story that a lot of people may be familiar with, may have heard me share this before in some way, shape, or form at a school or a church or somewhere. Or you just may remember it happening if you know me. Something that happened a long time ago. It's when I was diagnosed with cancer. I like it. It's good. It's advertised as kind of a mellow, medium cigar, not too strong. Pretty good flavor. Not bad. It's kind of cold today. It's turned up a little cold. It's been nice here the last few days. Got a Coke Zero I'm gonna have with it today. I like just sometimes having a Coke with a cigar. It's a pretty good thing. My buddy Robbie Nichols actually kind of talked to me about that one time, and kind of thankfully did. But anyway, I want to share the story about my diagnosis, and it all kind of started my senior year of high school. I graduated in 1996, but this would have been actually in the fall of '95, my senior football season, the last game of my senior year. We were actually playing against a team that was just down the road from us, kind of an in-county rival. And on the opening kickoff of the game, I'm running down the field, and a guy kind of drops down and puts his helmet right on the outside of my right knee. Kind of upended me, and I man, it hurt. It took me a while to get back to where we were huddled, and wasn't really sure about how that was going to work the rest of the game. But I stayed in the game. It hurt, but it's kind of one of those things. Adrenaline kicked in. It's your last game ever. We didn't go to the playoffs that year, so I knew this was the last time I would suit up as a Bulldog and be playing. So played the rest of the game. It hurt, but I just kind of chalked it up to that's football. You know, it's just kind of how it goes. So next week or two, we started practicing basketball, and it just hurt all the time, constant hurt. And again, it's just like, well, that's the way it happens in football. And went to the doctor about it, and my doctor just told me basically that it was bursitis. He just kind of felt around on it and didn't take any x-rays or imaging or anything. He just kind of said, well, it's just bursitis. You're just going to have to play with the pain and just ice it before games, after games, and just deal with it. So I tried to do that. I iced it before games, I iced it after games, and I never got any relief. Just constantly hurt. And then we were playing in a tournament right after Christmas at the El Dorado Holiday Tournament, which is kind of a big thing around where I grew up, and playing in the championship game, and I'm guarding a kid, and we bumped knees. I don't know if you've ever done that. Just bumped knees with somebody. The kid I was guarding was driving the lane, and we kind of bumped, and man, after that, you could even watch it on the film, just how it was hard to move. It was hard to run, and anyway, we ended up getting beat that game and got that second in the tournament. But I went to Coach Schmidt-Peters a day or two after the game was over, and I just I went to his house actually and just said, man, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I said, I'm just hurting all the time. I can't move. I can't go side to side. I don't know what's going on, but something's not right. I said, I need to rest it up too. Baseball was my sport, and I mean, I wasn't great at it, but I was looking forward to trying to play in college, and I needed to heal up before baseball started. So he understood that, totally understood, and so I quit playing basketball with the hopes that, a couple months of rest would help it. Unfortunately, it didn't. Baseball started, we started practicing, and it still hurt. And man, it was frustrating, hurt all the time. Went to another doctor, actually an athletic trainer I went to, and just had him look at it and mess around with it, see what was going on with it. He thought I had a hamstring tendon problem, pulled hamstring tendon, and not much to do about it, just let it heal. And I'm like, man, I've been letting it heal, it ain't healing. But at some point, baseball practice had started, and my coach knew that something was wrong. So he had a trainer come look at me, and the guy that he had come to the school was a guy named Steve McInerney, and this guy I credit with basically saving my life. And it's another story, but Steve McInerney has since passed from cancer, and I actually went up to Chicago and preached his funeral for him several years back. But anyway, this guy came, and I told him what I'd been told from different people, and he's like, man, something's not right. This just doesn't sound right. He said, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to give you some exercises to do for a couple weeks. I'll come back, and we'll check and see, and if it's getting better. And so I did the exercises. He came back a couple weeks later, and it wasn't any better. So he said, man, something's wrong. He said, you need to get this checked out. So he recommended me to an orthopedic surgeon in Carbondale. So I went, my mom and I went, and my concern was, man, am I going to get to play baseball? Like, that was all I was concerned about, was baseball season and what was going to happen with that. But I didn't know how serious it really was. But we went to see Dr. Wood in Carbondale, and orthopedic surgeon. And before I even saw him, he took an x-ray of it. And we went in and saw him after the x-ray, and he couldn't tell from the x-ray what it was, but there was a black spot that showed up on my bone, in my tibia, right at the top of my tibia, which is why I thought it was a knee problem. And he said, I don't know what this is, so let's do an MRI to check it out. So a few days later, we had the MRI, and they came back after the MRI, and he said, this is a tumor. He said, I'm 99.9% sure it's not cancer, but let's do a biopsy just in case. And I'm still not really grasping, as an 18-year-old kid, the weight of this. And I'm still thinking, man, am I going to get to play baseball? So a few days after that, it was actually March 7th, 1996. They did the biopsy, and he came back, and he came out and told my mom that it was osteosarcoma, bone cancer, basically. And so it was in my tibia. It was all inside my tibia, just below my knee. And if I would have been diagnosed 15 years prior to when I was, they would have given me some chemo, or probably just cut my leg off, given me some chemo, and sent me home to die. But thankfully, when I was diagnosed, it had come a long way in terms of how they could treat it. So I was supposed to go to St. Louis for my treatment, but that didn't happen. It really was kind of fortunate. I had an uncle who was a doctor at the time, and he kind of took it upon himself to get me into a place called MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, Texas, one of the best cancer hospitals in the world. So I didn't really know anything about cancer at the time. Nobody in my family had ever dealt with it. I didn't really know anybody close to me that had dealt with it. Since then, of course, I've lost a lot of people. Just recently, my dad lost several grandparents to it, aunts and uncles to it. I mean, his friends, of course, everybody's affected by it in some way, shape, or form. But when I was told as an 18-year-old kid that you had cancer, it kind of scared me. I mean, it really scared me. I had been going to church a little bit in my life at that time, and it scared me to the point that I knew that if it killed me, that I wasn't going to go to heaven when I died. I believe that everybody who, that not everybody goes to heaven, that the only people that trust Jesus as their Savior, that He saves because of what He did for us on the cross, go to heaven. And I knew enough at that point in my life to know that I had not given my life to Christ. And so a couple days after my diagnosis, I did that. I asked Jesus to forgive me my sins. I trusted Him as my Savior, gave my life to the Lord. And, He became that day the Savior of my life. Took away the fear of death that I had, because I knew that if this thing did kill me, that I was going to be in heaven. So He didn't heal me physically that day, miraculously like He could have, but He healed me spiritually, and that was eternally more important. So anyway, a couple days after that, I was supposed to go to St. Louis, but instead ended up on a plane for the first time in my life, going to Houston, Texas, to MD Anderson, to meet my doctor, to see what they said about it. They told us to come down there expecting to stay 3 to 5 days, and I ended up staying the first time for about 7 weeks. That's because they were ready to start. They told me what was going on and what they thought and how they could treat it, and they're like, let's just do this. In fact, my doctor, Dr. Plager, he was a great guy, older guy, just so compassionate and caring, and he told me, basically, give me a year and I'll give you your life back. And they basically did that. So a few days later, I had a port put in my chest, began chemo, which was brutal. I've always said I would never do that again, never take chemo again. I've had some scares since then with some things, and having kids now and a family, I might reconsider. But anyway, the way that it worked for me, it was kind of a two-part thing. Well, not kind of a two-part thing, it was a two-part thing. So the first thing they did was they would hook this pump up to my port, and for 5 days I would walk around or whatever, just it would be on there, and it would be constantly putting this medicine in me, the chemotherapy in me. And just for 5 days, 96 hours or whatever it was, it's giving me this medicine. And so at the end of that, when that would be running out, I would have to check in the hospital. And the way that would work, I would check in the evening, and the next morning they would get me up early. They would take me downstairs or whatever, and they would hook me up to all these machines. And basically what they would do then is they would put a line, kind of like an IV line in my hip, like upper hip area, groin area. It would run in a vein across my body all the way down my leg, right to the tumor. And the doctor said it was, when that medicine hit that tumor, it was like an atomic bomb going off on it. So that's what they would do to that. But that was miserable. That would start about 6 in the morning, take me down there, do all this stuff to me, make sure it's in the right place. So they've got to, run all this, fluids and things through it. The chemo itself lasted about 2 hours. Once they would take me back up to the room, they would do that. And then they'd have to flush it out. And then they would put this big pressure bandage on it where the line went in, with this big, 25, 30 pound sandbag that would just lay on that just to make sure that it healed. The whole process was just probably from about 6 in the morning till about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I'm just laying there on my back the whole time. Like if I had to, use the bathroom and just kind of roll enough to be able to do that. It was just a miserable day. But it was probably not as miserable as how I would feel afterwards. Stay in the hospital for anywhere from 5 to 10 days, really, depending on how my body reacted to it and how sick I got and how long it took for my blood counts and everything to come back up. And I did that 4 times, from like March, when I started in March, then again in April, May, and June. Each of those rounds lasted about 4 weeks, because they would do the 5-day pump, and then the 5 to 10 day stay in the hospital, and then they'd give me a couple weeks to basically heal up, recover from it. Side effects were awful. Lost all my hair, of course. That was about the only thing I knew about chemo before that or cancer, was that people lost their hair, and then they died. That was about all I knew. I lost about 25 pounds. I mean, I wasn't a big guy. I was about 165 pounds when I was diagnosed. At my lightest, I got down to about 140 pounds. Just looked sick. I had that cancer look, you know. Probably the worst of the side effects for me were the mouth sores, where I'd get these like ulcer type things in my mouth. Couldn't eat anything. That's probably why I lost so much weight. My grandma Oli used to make milkshakes for me whenever I was home. The times I could come home in between treatments, she would make milkshakes for me, and that was about the only thing that I could handle being in my mouth, just because my tongue would get these sores on it and it touched my teeth, and it just, man, it was miserable. I got to come home after the second round of that, so about 7 weeks after I started. I went down there, like I said, expecting to stay 3 to 5 days, and the first time I got to come home was 7 weeks later. Got to go to school a little bit, you know, see my friends and whatnot. The baseball team had all shaved their head for me. And that story, it was on the news, and it actually ended up on World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, which was pretty cool. I did all my schoolwork. I ended up graduating high school on time, a couple months after all that. It was tough, but my teachers were pretty lenient. You know, I did what was required, and would either mail it back, or people that would come and visit would take it back, and all that. But when I graduated, it was pretty emotional, pretty exhausting night. You know, it's a small town, you know, 3-sport athlete. Everybody kind of knew my story, and it was a long night, good night. But I ended up having to go to the hospital afterwards, get a platelet transfusion, just because my counts were low. But that whole diagnosis and treatment, it was a long, exhausting 4 months or so, followed by a surgery, which I'll talk about later on this year, about my initial surgery and what they did to me, and how that all worked. Anyway, that was 29 years ago this week, that I was diagnosed. And in a lot of ways, it seems like it was forever ago, like a lifetime ago. And in a lot of ways, it seems like it was just yesterday. You know, you have those moments in your life that are so, you know, pivotal. They're really life-changing. You know, and the cancer that I had to go through was pretty mild. I mean, it was hard and it was terrible, and, you know, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. But, you know, being down in Texas and staying at the Ronald McDonald House, met a lot of kids that were so much worse off, you know, and dealing with so many more terrible things that aren't here today, you know. So I know that the Lord had a plan for all that, because, you know, if not for all that, there's a lot of things in my life I wouldn't have got to do. You know, because of my leg, because of my story, because of my testimony, that I feel blessed because of that. And I always tell people, you know, you have a story to tell. You know, there's trials that you're going to go through in life, and there's lessons to learn from them. And then once you learn those lessons and you get through them, then it's your responsibility and your obligation to share your story. So I enjoy doing that. I feel obligated to do that. The Lord has given me a story to tell, and I want to tell it. So this is part of it today. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I want to sit and enjoy this afternoon. And, you know, it's a cool day, but it's a nice day, and I'm just going to sit here and do this. So thanks again for watching. I appreciate you all that chime on here, and that check out the videos. And you know, I hope that if you haven't yet, you'll subscribe to the channel, and just spend some more time with me as we go throughout this year, and that you'll like the video and all that. But as for now, I hope you all have a great week. I'm going to sit here and enjoy the rest of this, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.